Hi there, traders, and welcome to Trade the Structure. My name's Braden Gardner. What I'm going to run through with you now is a short setup, okay? And the key aspect of this short setup is actually trading into support. So there's going to be times when you're faced with having to trade into support, where there's times when you just sort of brush it aside. You should just step aside and not worry about it. There's other times when you should actually, it could really pay out, and it's taking advantage of different price action and knowing what you're looking for prior to the trade entry, okay? So I'm going to run through this trade. There was actually three trades today. I did on the Nikkei. So it was on the N225. We've got it in here on this charting package. N225 short. Okay, so the markets opened up and the US was weak last night. We all know that. A bit of a sell-off and expecting the Nikkei to open weak. Okay, and it was down near a support level. So you don't know if it's going to go straight down to support and bounce. And you're going to be shorting into that level and it's going to stop you out, one, two, three, maybe four times. Okay, I don't like to trade more than about three times. If I have a couple of goes at it and then I'll try one more time, I'm going to be a bit more patient for that price action to set up. Now, if it doesn't work, it was probably never going to set up. Okay, it was probably never going to work. So today was nearly one of those days. It took me two trades at the start. I think it was a break even or a slight loss and a bigger loss. And then I jumped onto the short side and rode it all the way down, made it all back plus a bit more into the support level. And I'll just run through with you on a 5-minute chart and the 1-minute chart of what I was looking for, okay, for the entry setup and why I committed to the short for the third trade. To start with, we're on the 5-minute chart here. This is the open, okay? We've got this vertical line, the open that was at 9:45 Sydney time it opened. So this is not the candle here, but this candle here, okay, it opened. You can see it pressed down. Okay, so I think it was about here. I did get short. I'll look at the 1-minute chart in a moment, and I did get short around here again, added to that position, and then obviously this one was a loss, and this one was a smaller loss as it started to reverse on me. But what I was actually looking for was that confirmation. Okay, so sometimes you can get the 5-minute chart will just be red all the way down. Okay, and if you're going for longs, it could just be one powerful move up on the 5-minute chart, and it's all green bars. Okay, and you're dropping it down to the 1-minute chart for your entries. Now it did set up here. And it did set up, look, it was probably a bit of a late fade, a late add into that short, but it was a setup and I was expecting it to drive into the support in one foul swoop. Now, it didn't do that. It reversed on me and then I had to sort of refocus back on the 5-minute chart to make sure that I was looking for the right area. I was looking for, the right entry and it did play out quite nicely. Okay, so that third short was somewhere around here, okay, and I rode that down, took some off into there and then took it off a bit lower. Basically, I just run down. I wasn't really looking for it to drive through, and I wasn't around for this second short setup. So on the charts here, what you can see is kind of the entry zones you might be looking for. That's kind of an entry on the 5-minute chart. There's nothing down here looking at the 5-minute chart. And then you've got this kind of, I like this kind of entry here. You've got a minor, what we call retest fail top here. The candle, the very next 5-minute candle tests it, and it's a minor retest fail on the 1-minute chart. You'll see in just a moment. We got that retest fail, then it starts to break down here and it holds. So that 5-minute chart, you got the EMAs, which I'm looking at a 10 or 20, and I think it's 100 or 50. They're down, so they're in my favor. And what I've got is the MACD. So I'm looking for the MACD for momentum, and that's starting to push down also. Well, it's pushing down. Okay, so you got the pushing down here. It starts to come together a bit, but it's still in negative territory, meaning it's still in the sort of sell zone. And we got that first retracement on the 5-minute chart, and it starts to roll over again, and the MACD starts to roll over, and it presses down, so there's greater momentum to the downside. So that's pretty much what we're looking for from the 5-minute chart. So we whip over to the 1-minute chart just to show you the entries. So here you go. It may not have been that first one I was talking about. Yeah, it may have been just in here. So that was the entry, the first entry, then the ad down here. Like you can see that ad was a bit aggressive, which caught me out. And you can see that momentum was already starting to fade about here. Okay, look into some buyers starting to step in. They failed. Okay, then it pushed down a bit more. So it already had another good expansionary leg down. You've got a good push down here, another expansionary leg down. And this is when the market was just opening on the actual index itself from 10 till 10:15 thereabouts. And I went short again and turned around and paid the price. So you can see, as soon as we started to get this move down and it failed through the low, and we started to get this pop up here in this candle, I was out just above that there, I think. So really it was, a small loss in that first entry and a bigger loss in the second entry. So net, I was down across the two. All right, and you can see that momentum started to pick up. So remembering what was happening on the MACD on the 5-minute chart, when the momentum was actually starting to pick up a bit, but it didn't cross, it was still in negative territory. I like this kind of trade when it starts to pick back up on the 1-minute chart. So your trading time frame, it's around the zero line and it starts to fade again. So now you've got a momentum against you on the 1-minute chart, with you on the 5. When it starts to roll over, you've got momentum both on the 1 and the 5 in your favor. Okay, so I anticipated that and was taking a short sell into this zone here, just when you got this red candle starting to break down. And I think I had to sit through a couple of negative candles, and then it really started to kick on. You can see a couple of good candles here, a couple of good candles here. So, I mean, if you're looking to add just from that 1 minute chart, looking to either push through the low or push into this support zone, you could have easily added that, and I was ready to add through this break, but I was just watching it, and then it started to break down. I thought, oh, shouldn't I? And it was a bit too late by the second, couple of candles later on, these two candles here. So you can see that it really started to kick on. I've got a lower high in here, another lower high in here, and you got this really big flush. So I was basically looking for a flush of that low. So that by the time you get to about here, you know that the market wants to flush. It's in a downtrend. The 5 minute is in a downtrend. The 1 minute is in a downtrend. You've had a good pullback on the 5. So anyone that was willing to buy it, if it was going to hold, it should have held in here, started to press down and ramped up again, but it didn't. It kept getting pressured down, and the index itself, the physical index, had gapped down. You got those initial wave of buyers coming in. They didn't get anywhere before it went into new lows. Okay, and that's pretty much all I was looking for. That flush into the low, I took them off on that little spike down and then called it a day on that trade there. So if you want to look a bit later on, there was probably another setup. What I like, anyone that likes knows what I'm looking for with the 3 minute candle. Sorry, the 3 candle setup. I'll put a tag to that or a link to that in the description a bit later on. Just take a look at it. It'll be on the end of the video as well. If you stay tuned to the end, you'll get that video pop up, and then you can take a look at that, what I'm talking about, 3 candles setup. So that there is basically what I'm looking for there. You could probably expand it to that leg there, but technically we've got a high here, another high flushed into the high, and then we've got 2 candles broken, the lower 2 candles, and then it starts to pressure down. And even you've got a lower high coming to play if you want to sort of play it a bit safer off a lower high, and then the market pressuring into that low. So that was one setup, and then you got another good retracement on the 1. So when you get these retracements on the 1 and the 5 is still down, it's the reverse for when it's going up. What I'm ideally looking for is that lower high, okay, or what we call an M pattern, okay. So an M pattern might be something like this. You've got 1, 2, and then fail, okay. So I'm ideally looking for that, or you're sort of looking for this structure, 1, 2, 3, okay. So that's the 2 sort of setups. I'm not looking for the 3 candle setup. That's basically with the trend. So it's this pullback on the 1 minute chart. But when you're on the 1 minute chart and you're sort of against the EMAs are starting to roll up again, like the 10s above the 20, you want it to roll back down again, okay, and respect that 20 or 50 EMA, okay. So you want basically that 20 below the 50, and you want the 10 back below the 50, back below the 20, okay, if that all makes sense. But that's what I'm looking for. I like to put a little bit more confirmation on the 1 minute chart when the 5 minute has had a bit of a pullback and we're starting to roll over on the 5. That's a prime entry there. That's the 3 candle setup. That's continuation of that 1 minute trend down. This is a 5 minute pullback, and you're looking for that, a certain pattern, which happened to be the M pattern in this place, and you're looking for that continuation down. And you basically could box that up. If we show you here, basically box that up through there. Okay, break through the lows, risk above, and okay, if you're right and you're picking the point right, and everything's starting to play out, which it was, momentum starting to roll over. The 5 minute momentum, I'm assuming was still down, still looking good, starting to roll over now. And you're pressuring into support. Now that was a nice little trade as well. Okay, so there's probably that one there took a bit more effort because you had bounced off the support, and it is extended. The market well and truly is in a downtrend. You know what's happening now. It could have easily just bounced off that support, okay, and ramped straight back up, or bounced at a higher level. But what you're looking for by taking these kind of entries from the 1 minute chart is to front run. If you're wrong, and it starts to bounce off a higher level, or somewhere into this zone here, you're at least up, and you could probably cut it at a small loss or cut it at a small gain or break even or something like that. So that's the idea of taking that nice early confirmed entry setup that you've obviously done your back testing on. Okay, so that's pretty much the trade in a nutshell, and that's the sort of the key aspects. It's going back to that 5 minute chart, the key aspects of what I'm looking for. Okay, one, you've got the market is in a downtrend. You're expecting that market to press into support. The index itself had gapped down. It was a negative market. The other markets were down. The ASX 200 was down as well. And we've got the momentum down, the EMAs. Everything is pointing to the downside, and you just got to take that the trade entries when they're there. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I hope that made a lot of sense to you. Now, if you do like that video and you do like what you hear, great if you can jump on the YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already, or leave us a like on that video there. It'd be much appreciated and help us build the community and really get out there within that trading community. So thanks for joining me, guys. Speak to you soon.